You know, during the Naruto series, Sasuke and Naruto have always had a deep bond, and I guess that's not surprising. But just as much as Naruto was intent to stop Sasuke and to save him from the darkness, in the earlier episodes it was a different drive, one to prove he was a better shinobi than Sasuke. Sasuke, on the other hand, always had the same single-minded goal. During the end of their battle on the roof of the hospital, Kakashi asked, "When are you going to grow up, Sasuke?" And I guess the answer was never. Sasuke, completely subservient to the Uchiha Curse of Hatred, was willing to kill Naruto for power and pride. And perhaps if he had done so, something different would have occurred. You know, it makes me wonder if there's a place for a what-if of the reverse style here, where Sasuke killed Naruto instead. And maybe, if this video is well received, I'll do something with that. But for now, let's just assume that Kakashi was not quick enough to stop them from attacking each other, and Sakura caught the sole of her shoe on a loose tile. Nothing will interfere with the battle save the wind and the emotions of one another. So now, let us all gaze up into the moon of my Infinite Tsukuyomi, and allow me to show you a possible world in which Naruto accidentally killed Sasuke on the hospital roof. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you are subscribed. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Endorphins were pumping through his veins. Adrenaline was being secreted from those glands into every part of his body. This was why people loved to fight. The feeling that came with it, pure pleasure. It was like a drug, an addiction one could get attached to. Those bodily chemicals were what regulated emotions in stressful situations, and it was what certain drugs forced your body to create. So in some ways, you weren't addicted to the drug, but what the drug did to your body. You were addicted to yourself. And in certain ways, that was worse. A whole litany of vices made it possible to scratch the invisible itch at the back of your mind. Selfishness, ego, to be in oneself so deeply that the concept of others fell away. That was what Sasuke and Naruto were both in right now. Tensions had reached their breaking point. After Naruto had gone to recruit Tsunade and encountered Itachi, Sasuke was not in a particularly good mind space. Whether Sasuke wanted to admit it or not, he craved and desired to live in Itachi's mind rent-free. Most people, after suffering what Sasuke had gone through, would seek to make themselves feel better by hoping that the killer who said they would come for them would eventually forget them and leave forever. Not Sasuke, though. Sasuke needed that attention. It was what gave him purpose in life, and now he wasn't getting it. Jealousy is what had taken over Sasuke. A need to be better, a need to surpass, a need to conquer. These things were what made Sasuke feel better. Was it to cover insecurity? What goals had he placed on himself that he could not reach? He wanted to be better than everyone. Perhaps that's why this all started in the first place. Sasuke was always so prideful. Naruto had just about enough of that, and due to Naruto's rapid growth, Sasuke was furious. Most good-hearted friends would see Naruto growing stronger and feel a sense of pride in him, an admiration and gratitude that their friend was improving. But certain deep-seated issues had led to such a thing being impossible here. Sasuke was not happy because Naruto's success threatened him. A fallacious thought process played in his mind. Instead of seeing Naruto as the gifted individual he was, he couldn't get out of his head the loser he had been. Completely ignoring his defeat of Neji, Sasuke was certain he had to be better than Naruto because in his mind, Naruto was the weakest in class. And so when Naruto proved to be surpassing Sasuke, and when Itachi had seemed to show more interest in Naruto than his own brother, something in Sasuke snapped. He needed to defeat Naruto. No, he needed to kill Naruto. This had to end. Anyone who dared intrude upon this sacred vengeance, this bond of hatred between brothers, anyone who dared stand between Sasuke and the sacrifice he was making to his own ego had to die. And that's why they were fighting now. The anger reserved for Itachi was seeping through into his fight with Naruto. So much so that the flames Sasuke rained down upon the shadow clones were filled with an intense passion and need to destroy. As they both landed on the ground, through his very shoes, Naruto could still feel the heat radiating up off of the tiles that Sasuke had just cooked. All the while, Sasuke, barefoot, stood on those same tiles, his feet burning, paying it no mind. No pain could be worse than what Itachi had done, and no loss more infuriating than the loss of a gifted individual to a talentless loser. Let his feet be burned. Let them cry out in agony until the nerve endings were totaled. Let Sasuke never feel the ground again. It would be a blessing to him. Nothing then could ever slow down his race to revenge. Even running a mile barefoot over broken glass and hot coals would not stop Sasuke now. Jumping toward the nearby water tower, Sasuke let the cool metal soothe his feet as he held out his hand to perform the Chidori. Naruto, with the help of a clone, began to form a Rasengan. Sakura, seeing these two pulling out their greatest techniques, knew that they were going to kill each other. Shouting for them to stop, she ran. The heat and impact of the battle had damaged the roof tiles, however, causing the corner of one to rise up. The very bottom of her shinobi souls caught it, and with that, Sakura fell to the ground, the searing hot tiles burning her skin. Rolling over, she cried out as the scraped skin on her hands, arms, and knees, already burning, had the pain exacerbated by a heat radiating up hot enough to cook eggs. She managed to get back to her feet, but it was too late. Naruto and Sasuke came at each other. Sasuke's Sharingan active, he traced Naruto's muscle movements and knew exactly where he was going to go. He had Naruto dead to rights. He was dead. It was over. With one swipe of the hand, he pushed Naruto's Rasengan away and stabbed into him. However, much to his surprise, the flesh he pierced through disappeared in a poof. A shadow clone. Suddenly, the real Naruto, flying through the clone's shadow, came at Sasuke. It was too late to react. Naruto plowed the Rasengan right into Sasuke's face. Both of them hit the ground. Naruto rose to his feet panting, as did Sasuke. Naruto turned around and prepared to call up more shadow clones. Sasuke turned around, ready to attack again, but something was wrong. His feet weren't moving the way he wanted them to. His left hand was twitching. Naruto saw this and was surprised. Electing to pause his execution of the shadow clone jutsu, he called out, "Are you alright?" Sasuke, stumbling forward, tried to issue a curse at Naruto, but his words were unintelligible. Naruto. At about this time, tears of blood began to run down Sasuke's cheeks as his nose started to drip the same. Sasuke began to stumble to the side, attempting to grab a structure for stability. He began to get the sensation that he was falling, despite having already hit the ground a second ago. Sakura and Naruto ran to him. "Sasuke!" Sakura cried out as she saw Sasuke on the ground, blood now running from his mouth. His eyes were no longer looking in the proper direction, nor were they dilating properly. We need to get him to the hospital, now!" Naruto shouted. He loaded Sasuke up on his back and began to run toward the stairs, carrying him down. Sakura ran ahead to call for a doctor. Doctors came to help Sasuke, rushing him off to do whatever it was that they may. It wasn't until later that Kakashi made it there. Questioning what happened, Naruto seemed quiet, so Sakura relayed everything that happened with great detail. Kakashi was furious, to say the least. He spoke. "How could you do that, Naruto? You know better!" Naruto had no rebuttal. He did know better, and instead of acting upon his better judgment, he gave in to his darker impulses. It was at about this time that a doctor came back to them. "We did everything we could, but we couldn't save him." Sakura at first was in shock. This was some joke, wasn't it? But it wasn't. It was no joke. Sasuke had died. The doctor began to explain what they'd discovered. "We're unsure of what happened, but despite there being very little markings on his face, save for some bruising and hairline fractures, it was like the boy's brain was thrown into a blender. How he was even functioning as long as he was is a testament to his willpower. Entire parts of his brain were detached from the main cerebrum. His hemispheres were completely separated from one another, and his neurons absolutely shredded. There was nothing we could do for him. Nothing at all. The moment he went to sleep, he went brain dead." Sakura, seeing what she had seen, hearing what she was now hearing, began to breathe heavily. Falling back into a chair, she began to hyperventilate. No, it's impossible. He's not dead. You're lying." The doctor looked at her with a sense of confusion that soon evolved into compassion. "I'm sorry, miss. We tried our best, but there was nothing we could have done. Even if Tsunade herself were in the room with us, it would have made no difference." Sakura began to scream and wail, crying, bawling her eyes out. Her response was nothing short of a complete mental breakdown. It was so intense that she passed out and had to be admitted herself. Naruto sat there in utter disbelief. He'd killed Sasuke. Looking at his hands, he couldn't believe it. How could that attack do such a thing? Naruto had known that this attack could do internal damage, but he hadn't expected to scramble Sasuke's brain like an egg. What have I done? As Kakashi and the doctor were still trying to help Sakura, Naruto, in a panic, stood and began to briskly leave the facility. Stepping out into the sun, he felt as though he might also hyperventilate, that he might also have a panic attack. Naruto was in shock, but he knew he needed to move quickly. Running away from this location, he found a dark alleyway where he could catch his breath. His desire for privacy, his need to hide, was absolute. Finding a cardboard box, he crawled into the nearest trash can that was mostly empty, save a few bags, and covered himself with the box in hopes that should anyone open the can, they wouldn't see him. The smell was atrocious, but Naruto didn't know it. He didn't detect it or the stain that he was currently sitting in that was going to permanently discolor his bright orange pants. All he could think was that he needed a place to calm down, and now he had one. As he sat there quietly, he knew that he had just made the worst mistake of his life. This wasn't like in the Chunin exams where the possibility of death was accepted and even signed off on by everyone who participated. This was a civil scuffle. This was a murder. Naruto had just murdered Sasuke. It was unintentional, and it wasn't premeditated. It was emotions getting the better of him. By all measures, this counted as voluntary manslaughter. Not as severe as standard murder, but still very bad. Naruto knew he could face a long prison sentence, or perhaps worse. Shinobi were held to higher standards, and considering that Naruto had a previous criminal record, such as vandalism, theft, assault, and disturbing the peace, all these things together, and Naruto knew he could face at least 30 years in prison, which was 5 years more than life with the possibility of parole. And considering how much everyone hated him, there was no hope for him. He'd be tried as an adult due to his statute as a genin, and if imprisoned, he might be put into a place like Hozuki Castle, where there was a high chance he could be killed. Naruto's entire life had just fallen apart, and it was all because he made that horrible decision to use Rasengan. It wasn't his fault. Sasuke made him do it. Sasuke and that stupid Chidori. If he hadn't pulled out that Chidori, this wouldn't have happened. If anything, this should be self-defense. Stand your ground laws. Right? No. It wouldn't go that way, would it? Naruto wouldn't be given such mercy. As said previously, the village hated him. Naruto could be certain that they were going to throw the book at him. And when they did, it was going to be as unfair as the judicial system allowed it to be. Beginning once more to panic, Naruto grabbed his head, gripping at his hair so tightly that golden strands began to wrap around his fingers, pulling free of his scalp the tighter he clutched. Tears began to roll down his cheeks as terror began to overwhelm him. It was then that he heard a sound outside of the can. Freaking out, he pushed against the side of the can with the box and held his breath. He heard the squeak of the can's lid lifting. It was silent for a moment. Someone had found him. It was over for him. He was dead. Halfway making peace with the idea of his own end, Naruto prepared for the worst. It was then that he heard a bag drop in, landing just beside him. He heard another squeak as the lid lowered down. Steps walked away. Naruto let out a gasp as he realized he'd been holding his breath. Looking down, he saw that he had instinctively gripped a kunai. Was I going to? He questioned the intent of this. Was this what Naruto was now? A man so quick to murder. Tears began to flow again as he knew this wasn't who he wanted to be, but it's who he was now. Naruto was a murderer. The only thing he could think of was escape. Escape from the village, escape from justice. It's not like what he did was on purpose. Why should he pay for something accidentally done, especially when he had no choice? No, justice was wrong. The real justice was in Naruto's freedom. He did nothing wrong and therefore shouldn't be detained. Right? No, right? He shouldn't be detained. Naruto cast off the box and reholstered his kunai. Slowly lifting the can's lid, he looked around to see if anyone else was there. He was sure he was safe. Jumping out of it, he began to run. Naruto had only just now escaped, so the chance that the Konoha police force was already after him was low. He had a short reprieve before the village went on lockdown looking for him. This was his only chance to escape. Rushing to the most obvious place one might go after doing something like this, Naruto went home, but it wasn't to stay. It was to gather supplies for his escape. Entering into the old, musty-smelling apartment, he closed the door, locked it, and put the U-latch on it to ensure that even if the first lock failed, nobody could get in. At the very least, this might buy him some time. Looking around, he was grateful that he'd been taught certain things. He had a bug-out bag ready previously, enough to live 3 days off of. However, he knew he would need more than this, so he added to the bag more underwear, an extra change of clothes, plenty more food and water, and as many ninja tools as he could. As he loaded the bag, he noticed beside his bed a picture of himself, Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi. Naruto and Sasuke were looking away from each other in anger, all while Sakura posed for peace and Kakashi ruffled their hair. They were supposed to be a family. Remembering the Land of Waves escort mission they had gone on, how much time he and Sasuke had spent together, and the times they thought they might die, Naruto smiled. Sasuke wasn't so bad. Sasuke was a good friend. He was just frustrated, and Naruto was too. Tears began to roll down his cheeks. He remembered how upset he was when he thought Haku had killed him. He was so distraught that something within him snapped. He nearly killed Haku out of rage at that moment, and the sound of Sakura's screams and crying echoed in his head, drawing tears. Even now, those echoes haunted him, as they had ceased as soon as Sasuke awakened, but now they never would. Those cries would never cease. Sakura was destroyed, her heart maimed by Naruto's carelessness. He had used Jiraiya's special technique against Sasuke, and now he wasn't sure what to do. Having lost track of time, Naruto heard the sound of a fist knocking on the door. "Konoha police! If you're in there, open up!" Naruto panicked, dropping the picture, its glass frame breaking upon impact on the hardwood floor. "We know you're in there! Open up!" the policeman shouted. Naruto needed to escape. Turning around, he opened his own window and stepped out on the side of the building to jump to the other. Looking down, he saw a Konoha police officer looking straight at him, speaking into a radio on his shoulder. He'd just been made. The door to his apartment was smashed in as the police began to SWAT the home. Naruto jumped to another building, causing the police shinobi to enter hot pursuit. Naruto ran as fast as he could. He was younger, had more energy, and was a lot more limber than the policeman, but the issue was that the policeman had longer legs, meaning he was faster. The only way to stay ahead was to juke him, and so as the policeman's reaching hand was only a few inches from Naruto's collar, Naruto decided now was the time to dodge. Diving down into an alleyway, he bounced from the wall to the ground, running non-parallel. The Konoha police force shinobi had no choice but to jump the gap to avoid getting hurt. This bought Naruto some time. He needed to do something about it. Naruto needed to find a good place to hide, quickly. And so Naruto, looking around, saw a window to a basement that was slightly open. He slid in, but to his surprise, there was already a person in there. Another kid about his age. "Hey, you can't be in here," he said. Naruto pulled the window closed. "I'm gonna get my mom," the boy said as he began to leave to call for her. Naruto heard the policeman coming. Grabbing the boy by the mouth, he pulled him behind a partition, kunai to the boy's throat. "You better shut the hell up," Naruto shouted through a whisper. Touching the tip of his blade to the boy's throat, Naruto spoke. "I'm not going down, and even if I do, I'm not doing it alone. I've already killed once, don't think I won't do it again." Even Naruto questioned what he was saying. He was in a panic, and honestly, Naruto didn't think he had it in him to kill this boy, even if he resisted, but the boy didn't know that. He didn't know anything, and because of that unknown variable, he had to err on the side of caution, which ensured that he would stay quiet. Naruto watched the shoes and boots of the shinobi run past. He waited a few more moments. When he was sure he was safe, he put the boy into a sleeper hold to cut off blood circulation to his brain just for a moment. That put the boy to sleep. He then ran back to the table, climbed on top, and opened the window. Looking around, he saw nobody. Now freed, he crawled out and began to run for it again. Naruto kept to the back streets and alleyways, going places where there was either nobody there to see him, or so many people that he might melt into the crowd and blend in. All of that time playing Shinobi's Creed on the Shinobi Station 3 really was paying off. He knew he couldn't stay in Konoha. He was too hot. The police were on his scent, and the only way he could find a respite was outside of the walls of the village, so that's where he began to race to. It seemed that a warrant for his arrest was already issued, which meant there was a bolo on him now. He could no longer take the pathways he normally did, couldn't stop at the places he would on an average day. No more Ichiraku ramen. Such a thought was what brought the reality of the situation to him. He was a wanted criminal now. His life in Konoha was at an end, but he already knew that. It was only just now hitting him how this might affect his life. Trying to determine the best way to go about this, Naruto chose a direction and went for it. Konoha was a circular city, which meant that all directions were equally viable as an escape route. So as soon as he had the chance, he entered a manhole and went down into the sewers. He knew it was only a matter of time before the police sealed those off too, but hopefully they wouldn't catch on quite yet. With their manpower so thin, especially after the terrorist attack at the Chunin exams, Naruto knew he could go this way and be safe. As he ran through the disgusting bacteria-filled water, he paid no mind to anything save escape. There would be time to worry about what he was walking through when he was out of the village. And so for a while he ran, trying to keep his bearings on which way he needed to go. If he could keep heading west, he would. And if he hit a wall, he'd follow that wall until a new corridor opened up to the west. Eventually, he reached the edge of the village and escaped through a tunnel, which led him to a river outside. Once he was on the road, he looked around. Now he was out of Konoha, but where did he go from here? Where could he go? Where was safe? Where was the rest? He had no connections with anyone outside of the village. He had no home or anything, and he couldn't stay in the open. Those Akatsuki guys had sought him for some reason or another, so he couldn't run free. At this moment, he felt like the most wanted man in the world, and all he had done was some small, trivial mistake. But he couldn't let himself keep feeling bad. He was in danger and needed to find shelter. Was he just going to break into a cabin and use it as a base until eventually discovered and driven off? No. He needed a more stable hiding place where nobody would find him. The longer he thought about it, the quicker he came to realize that there was someone he had a connection to. His only option. He began to head in that direction. Jiraiya walked a trail back to his home. His mind was heavy due to the things he had recently experienced. Having come to the Chunin exams to meet Naruto, he failed his final mission to his master. Unable to catch Orochimaru, Jiraiya's own failures led to the death of the man he admired more than anyone else in the village. He had hoped to make up for that by recruiting the only person he trusted with the position their master held, and for a time he felt as though he was going to be okay. But then word came to him that Naruto was now a wanted criminal. Naruto had taken the technique he'd been taught and mistakenly used it against a friend in a petty squabble, which had resulted in that friend's death. Jiraiya felt responsible for that too. If only he hadn't taught Naruto the Rasengan, then this wouldn't have happened. He clearly wasn't ready for it. And now Jiraiya felt as responsible for Sasuke's death as Naruto was. And though Jiraiya was not charged with anything, Tsunade was sure to let him know that it was his fault. Jiraiya tried to reason with Tsunade, telling her that she had witnessed Naruto's strength and heart in his battle against Kabuto, where he'd saved her life. To that, she seemed sympathetic, even going so far as to apologize for accusing Jiraiya for teaching Naruto. She was just frustrated because now she had to do something about Naruto, and it wasn't going to be easy. Jiraiya's heart was weakened by all the stress, strain, and drama going on. Unable to watch the child of his most beloved student be prosecuted, Jiraiya had decided to leave the village. He hoped that in some way he could go home and start to build some sort of case for Naruto, or perhaps find an attorney that might be able to lessen the sentence for him. Jiraiya knew that the village hated Naruto, and because of that he knew that there were no lawyers within the village who could be trusted, as all of them had a trauma-based bias against the boy. He needed to find someone out of the village who had a license to practice within it, someone who didn't lose anyone in the Ninetales attack. Of course, this case was going to be very controversial, which meant that the lawyer would charge a pretty penny as collateral for possibly harming his reputation. That was, if the lawyer would take the case at all. But Jiraiya knew he had to try. As he came to his home, he pulled out a key to unlock the door, only to see that the lock had scratches around it. It had been forced and now sat unlocked. Jiraiya looked around, knowing that there must have been an intruder. Pulling a kunai and raising his fingers into a half-ram symbol, Jiraiya slowly pushed the door open and prepared to clear his own home. Looking around, he saw nothing but darkness in the main living quarters. Nobody was in his study or his bedroom, so where were they? Had they broken in to eat and leave? No, there was one light he noticed. Coming from the bathroom, Jiraiya stepped to the door and put his hand on it silently. Quickly pushing the door open, he stepped in, ready to attack, only to hear a startled scream come from the tub. Sitting among a liberal amount of bubbles was Naruto. The candles around the room were lit.
Naruto, what the hell are you doing in my house?
"I'm sorry," he shouted.
How much of the shampoo did you have to use to make this bubble bath?
Jiraiya demanded to know, picking up the empty bottle from the floor.
And you used my best candles for this. I was saving those for...
Jiraiya caught himself. He remembered everything. Looking at Naruto's tear-stained face, he let out a sigh of relief.
Never mind those things, he said. I'm just glad you're safe.
Kneeling down next to the tub, he spoke.
You okay?
Naruto shook his head. Jiraiya nodded.
Saw you raided my pantry in there.
He smiled.
You leave all the markings of a bear, you know that?
He was hoping to pull some sort of jovial response from Naruto, even if only a smile. But sadly, tonight was not a night for smiling. Looking more closely at Naruto's face, he saw his ears and cheeks were blood red.
How much of that sake did you drink?
Naruto didn't answer. Jiraiya didn't like the idea of someone like Naruto getting into the alcohol, but considering the fact he was pretty much a murderer now, even if by accident, he couldn't exactly blame him. Naruto was spiraling into despair. That was for sure. Jiraiya could see it.
Pervy Sage, you never should have taught me that technique.
Jiraiya looked down.
Perhaps you weren't quite ready for it yet. I guess I never properly warned you of the dangers of it. I needed to make sure you understood before I let you loose.
Naruto sank lower so that only his eyes and above were out of the water.
Naruto, why did you use that technique against him? Were you trying to kill him?
Naruto shook his head.
It wasn't my plan, he said. He tried to burn me to death with fire release, and I needed something that would protect me, so I used the Rasengan to create a wind barrier. By that time, he was forming a Chidori, and that technique can and will kill if hits, so I was scared, angry. I didn't think about what the Rasengan would do, I just needed a technique. So when he came at me, I needed to end the fight quickly. I feinted him and then hit him in the head with the Rasengan. At first, I thought he was alright because he stood up, but then he started acting strange. I asked him if he was alright, and he started to bleed out of every hole in his head. The doctors said I basically blew his brain to pieces. The Rasengan does more damage inside than it does outside due to its structure. His skull was alright, but you basically dropped a cannonball on his brain.
Naruto shook his head as he looked at Jiraiya, tears starting to form in his eyes again.
I promise I didn't mean to do it. I just wanted to prove I wasn't a dud. I didn't want him to keep thinking I was a loser.
What does it matter what Sasuke thought? Jiraiya asked.
What matters is what you think about yourself. It's hard to think good about yourself when everyone else is telling you that there's nothing good about you, that you're a nuisance, you're a loser, when literally nobody tells you that you did good, and all you feel is like crap. But you knew it wasn't true though. I've told you, and you've told me. Why would you let it bother you? Because it became the truth.
Jiraiya was confused. Naruto explained.
Have you ever been told something that wasn't true so much that it felt true, even if you knew it wasn't?
Jiraiya understood what Naruto was saying. There was a thing in society in which, even if something weren't true, if enough people shouted that it was, eventually people would believe it. It was a form of brainwashing that was quite common. Mass opinion and mankind's need to be alike, even if they were different, had caused the old saying, if enough people tell you you're drunk, it's time to lay down, and could use it to convince people of things that weren't true. And Naruto apparently had been exposed to so many people talking down to him and talking bad that it opened a wound that made him feel as though he was the same as they said. This was truly a tragic thing indeed. Jiraiya didn't know what to do. He knew what justice demanded, but his heart stood in defiance against this. Taking a deep breath, he ruffled Naruto's hair and stood.
You're not gonna turn me in, are you? Naruto asked.
Jiraiya shook his head.
No, I won't turn you in, so just be calm. You're safe here. Focus on cleaning up and resting for a while. There's a spare room. I'll put a futon in there.
Naruto smiled slightly for just a moment.
Thanks, he said.
Jiraiya smiled back and stepped out. Jiraiya stood there by the door, looking in at Naruto. His sleep was restless. The kid was balled up on the futon, the covers pulled up to the back of his head, only his face peeking out. He was clutching a second pillow as if it were his only friend. For now he was asleep, but his face was twisted in discomfort, as if he were sick. Stress did that to a person. Stress could make you physically ill, and Naruto was experiencing that right now. His sleep was not sweet, and his dreams were full of nightmares, likely reliving that same scene over and over again in his head. But there was nothing Jiraiya could do about it. Naruto's own conscience was what was doing this to him, and he needed to figure out how to deal with this himself. Closing the door, Jiraiya began to walk back through the house until he reached his study. Closing the door, he began to go over scrolls, books, newspapers, and other things. He was looking for any ads for a good attorney. There had to be some somewhere. As he looked through them, he heard the door behind him creak open. Naruto was there, still clutching his pillow. Walking in, he spoke.
What are you up to, pervy sage?
Jiraiya tried to cover what he was looking at, but Naruto was smart. He looked at it all over and noticed a trend.
Attorneys? He asked. Why are you?
Naruto's eyes widened.
I thought you said you weren't gonna turn me in.
Jiraiya held out a hand.
I'm not, Naruto. Calm down. Then why are you looking at attorneys?
Naruto demanded, pointing at the papers and taking a step back.
Breathe, Naruto. Just let me talk.
Naruto looked like he might run. Jiraiya took a step forward and grabbed his hand. Naruto struggled and fought against it, instinctively forming another Rasengan. Jiraiya stood there.
Are you really gonna use that on me, Naruto? He asked.
Naruto looked at his hand and realized what he had done. He had never made a Rasengan without the help of a clone before. Letting it go, he fell to his knees.
I'm sorry,
He said through a barely audible voice as his eyes began to overrun with tears. Jiraiya drew closer to him and pulled him into a hug like a father would.
It's okay, Naruto. You're just scared. It was an unconscious act of self-preservation. It's natural. No need to feel ashamed. It was your fight or flight response. When you can't flee, your brain switched to fight, and that was the weapon it chose. It's not your fault. I could have killed you like I did to Sasuke.
Jiraiya hugged him as Naruto buried his head into his chest. Jiraiya did not sleep that night. He let Naruto rest in the bed and continued working all night. The next morning, Naruto awakened to the sound of eggs and bacon on the stove. It smelled good, but all the same, his stomach was so torn up that he didn't know if he could eat. A depression was over him, and Naruto began to wonder if he even wanted to get out of bed. His body and mind tried to convince him to stay in bed forever, to let the world pass him by, to be reclaimed by the earth, returned to dust. Well, that was the thought process anyway. He hardly had the will to do anything, to live even. But all the same, when Jiraiya came into the room, he sat Naruto up and shook him awake.
It's time to get up. Can't sleep in here forever, lazy bones, he said.
Naruto relented and got up out of the bed. Following Jiraiya into the kitchen, he sat by the table as Jiraiya served him a plate of food.
How do you feel today?
Jiraiya asked.
Headache, stomachache. Feels like I'm sick.
Stress? Naruto questioned.
Possibly, Jiraiya said. Could also be that you're hungover. You did drink a lot of my sake last night.
Naruto sat there for a moment.
Why were you looking at attorneys last night? He asked.
For you, Jiraiya said simply as he leaned on his hand, watching Naruto proceed to not eat.
I thought you said you weren't going to turn me in.
I am not, Jiraiya said.
Listen, Naruto, I can see it in your eyes. Your conscience is killing you. You're beginning to question the purpose of your life. Even though you're free, you're not really free, are you? The guilt is eating you up. I'll get over it, right? Perhaps not. But the question is, do you want to get over it?
Naruto was silent for a moment.
I didn't do anything wrong. Are you sure? Jiraiya asked. It almost sounded like that statement was a hidden question.
Naruto looked down.
I didn't mean to kill Sasuke, he said. You didn't, and that doesn't make you a bad person. But regardless, Sasuke is dead, and you're at fault. He would have killed me, Naruto said silently, as if trying to reason his way out of feeling bad. Is that so? Jiraiya asked.
Naruto didn't know for certain. Jiraiya then spoke again.
In the end, Naruto, innocent blood was spilt, and that is the world of Shinobi, yes. Sometimes we have to kill. What's the difference, though? This could have happened somewhere else, Naruto said. It could have. It could have happened on some battlefield somewhere, but the thing is, it didn't. Just because a soldier kills in a war doesn't mean he can kill at home. Taking a life is a big decision, even during war times, and must always be balanced between good and evil. You don't kill just to kill.
Naruto looked down at his eggs and bacon. Attempting to eat something, he took a bite. It wasn't a big one, but it was a bite.
Naruto, in the end, you know what happened, and you know it was wrong. You're not a bad kid, but you made a mistake, and the right thing to do would be acknowledge it and make amends.
Jiraiya sat back.
Of course, I can't make you do it. I won't make you do it. This needs to be a decision that you make. You can stay here forever, constantly on the run, like Itachi. Or you can go home, face your mistakes, pay for your crime. What will you do?
Naruto was silent for a time. Jiraiya took a deep breath and let it out before pouring Naruto some juice.
Take all the time you need to make your decision. But if I know you even half as well as I think, and if you're anything like your father, then I know what decision you'll make. What'll happen to me? Naruto asked.
Jiraiya shrugged.
You'll probably go to trial, which is why I was searching for a good lawyer. Not to prove your innocence, but to help you bargain for a better deal. If things go as well as I think, there's a good possibility you might only get 3 years. Once you serve your time, you'll be released, and you won't have to worry about it anymore. Where will I go? Naruto asked. Hoseki Castle?
Jiraiya shook his head.
I can pull a few strings, get Tsunade to preside over the case. You saved her life. She knows what kind of kid you are, and I'll testify to that. No doubt you'll probably just be stuck in a low-security prison. Probably the same kind of prison that juveniles go to. I won't go to an adult prison? Naruto asked. Not unless they try you as an adult. I don't think they will, though. You are a kid, and still a genin anyway. Even if you are held to a higher standard, you still have a bit of plausible deniability. You made a mistake, and everyone who matters knows this. It should be a relatively easy sentence.
Naruto kept looking down at his food.
Will this sense of guilt go away?
Jiraiya shrugged.
I can't be sure, but it will at least help it out. And then, when your sentence is over, I'll bring you back here to live. No more cruelty from Konoha's citizens.
Naruto thought deeply about it.
All right. I think it's best I go back to Konoha then. Jiraiya smiled. I'm very proud of you, Naruto. You're facing this head on. That's how a true shinobi is. A real shinobi doesn't run away from his problems, but instead toward them. Eat your breakfast and we'll be on our way.
And so, Naruto and Jiraiya began to make their way back to Konoha. The trek was long and hard, and on at least one occasion, Naruto needed to stop to puke. Weak and tired, the two of them crept back into Konoha.
Before we go, can we do something? Naruto asked.
Jiraiya nodded. The two of them stopped by Ichiraku Ramen, where Jiraiya let Naruto order whatever he wanted. The two of them ate all that they desired, which frankly wasn't much, but they enjoyed the flavor.
I'll be sure to bring you some from time to time, Jiraiya said. I don't think there's a rule against it, and I'm sure Tsunade will make an exception even if there is.
It wasn't much longer until another voice spoke. Well, look what we have here. Sitting down beside Naruto was a familiar masked man, Kakashi. Leaning on the bar, he propped his head against his hand. Naruto was silent and didn't even look directly at him. Keeping his eyes low to the ground, he said nothing. Kakashi spoke. I didn't think we would see you again, Naruto. I'm glad I was wrong.
I'm very sorry, Kakashi-sensei. I promise. I didn't mean to do it to him.
A silence passed through the air. I know, Naruto. If it hadn't been Sasuke that moment, it so easily could have been you. Things escalated. I'm not making excuses for you, of course, but I would say that it's probably more on me for not being there to stop you two. It's not your fault, Naruto said, finally making eye contact. Maybe not. Regardless, we both made a mistake.
How's Sakura doing? Naruto asked.
Not good, Kakashi said. At first, she was so mad at you, but eventually she realized it wasn't your fault. And though she may never truly forgive you, she doesn't entirely blame you. Naruto looked down again. Maybe what you're doing here will be enough to change her mind about not forgiving you though, Kakashi said with a smile. From there, Naruto made his way to turn himself in. He was placed in a jail to await trial. Jiraiya did everything he could to pull strings to get things in Naruto's favor. Finding the best lawyer he could get from out of Konoha, he helped Naruto explain everything that happened. Jiraiya also convinced Tsunade to be the judge for the case. From there, they called people up to vouch for Naruto, including Jiraiya, Iruka Umino, Kakashi Hatake, and even Sakura, all of whom spoke highly about the kind of person Naruto was. As Tsunade listened to them, she finally came to her decision. Naruto Uzumaki, this court finds you guilty on the account of voluntary manslaughter. Due to the circumstances of this case, I have come to the decision that punishment for this will be 3 years of monitored house arrest under the supervision of a trusted parental figure. Naruto was confused. Tsunade then explained. In other words, you are not to leave the Land of Fire under any circumstances. You must wear an ankle monitor for the duration of your sentence, and you will not leave the sight of your legal guardian, Jiraiya. Naruto was shocked.
You're not sending me to the slammer?
Would you rather go there? Tsunade asked. Naruto shook his head. Tsunade smiled. Then, very good. This court is hereby adjourned. She hit the gavel. Naruto was shocked.
I get to stay with you, Jiraiya-sensei, he said. I don't understand, though. Why am I getting off so easy?
Jiraiya smiled.
Well, you see, you've helped Konoha in the past, and considering that you obviously didn't mean for it to happen, this was all weighed together, along with eyewitness testimony. Sakura told Tsunade that Sasuke had the Chidori ready, and Kakashi even demonstrated what the Chidori is capable of.
Naruto began to cry. His emotions had begun to overload him. Sorrow for what he did, but relief from his own guilt. He'd be fitted with an ankle monitor and sent to live with Jiraiya. On the night that Naruto returned to Jiraiya's home, he finally seemed to sleep. Jiraiya watched from the door. It was a blessing that he no longer had to worry about his mistake. As Naruto slept, Jiraiya shut the door. Good night, Naruto. And that's the end of the story. This one was a bit of a downer, but hey, what'd you expect from a story where Naruto kills Sasuke? Of course, it would be pretty rough, but in the end, Naruto did the right thing. What do you think, though? Did you enjoy the story? If so, be sure to let us know in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified about when our next videos drop, and if enough people watch the video, maybe we'll do a flip side where it's Sasuke who kills Naruto. Anyway, until next time, peace out.